Welcome to You Can Fix You, the ultimate podcast with Tom Morrison, Jenny, and Jay Pizzle. Today, of course it was going to be silly. Today we are talking on podcast episode 20. Does pain get worse before it gets better? So we're going to go into all the little ifs, ands, buts, and whys around pain and see if we can give you some actionable, helpful info on what to look out for, because it's a very sketchy subject for many people. So, Jenny, have you ever heard something?
No, never.
Never?
No.
Well, that's the end of that conversation.
That's what they call her. Jenny, never been injured, Sanders.
That is what they call me, actually, yeah. No, I've heard a lot of stuff and many different types of injuries as well, which is, I think, going to be the crux of this question. Does pain get worse before it gets better? Because every type of injury, I'd say, is different.
Mm-hmm.
And some are fairly linear. You know, you sprain your ankle, it's generally it's just going to get better until it's fine again.
Yep.
But then you've got things like nerve pain, or you've got things that are more like, I guess,
something
maybe,
has to have been immobilized for a while.
yeah, things
and
like
getting it
that.
back up.
That's far more.
We'll go first then
unusual.
into like rehabbing a proper injury, like you've actually bandaged your shoulder
Mm.
and you're needing to rehab that. So what kind of things can we expect to see after that initial resting stage?
So after the initial resting stage, I'll talk about subluxations and dislocations because that's what I've had the most
How many have you had?
experience with. I can't remember now,
At least
but
3.
well, yes, at least 3 per shoulder.
Per shoulder. Oh my god, what
Yeah.
a lambda.
I know. I think.
Overachiever, Jenny.
Yeah, my left one went very recently when I fell out of a forearm stand. It's still actually a bit painful, and I've also done my elbow, which was far worse.
Oh.
Far worse than my shoulder. But so yeah, you'll rest it, which is essential. There is a mandatory rest period for most injuries. The length of that will depend on so many factors. But whatever it is, you've rested it until you can move it again. So it'll be weak. There'll probably be ranges of motion that your body does not want to go into. Those could either be because something is still inflamed and it's literally, we cannot move there yet. There's too much stuff in the way, like inflammation's in the way. Something has moved itself. It has maybe torn or shifted where it is, like muscles and ligaments where they're actually sitting. Or it could be a brain thing and your body's like, don't do that. Don't you remember? We just hurt ourselves doing that. And it's like, it's almost like this central nervous system protection kicking in. So I would say when you're in that stage, that's when the curiosity has to start. So you've done your resting, you know, okay, I can move again. Why can't I move my arm across my body? Like, that's a basic function. It hurts, so I need to find a way to achieve this position without freaking out and without pushing too far. So using assistance, like using my other arm to move it, like pausing and deep breathing, that would be very much the first stage after an acute injury.
Yeah, once you're out of the sharp pain state, like if you try and assist your arm over and you immediately get a sharp stabby pain, that's no, it's not ready yet.
No.
But if you just get a pain, that's kind of, it's uncomfortable and unpleasant.
Yeah.
Even to the point that you feel a wee bit sick sometimes.
Sometimes.
It can still be okay to start working through that and start restoring the range. So.
Totally, yeah. What about you, Tom? Have you kind of worked? I mean, you've had a plethora of injuries over the...
No, they call me uninjurable Tom.
Oh, they do.
Invincible Tom. Oh, yes,
They do. Probably the most helpful thing for me to share is my back stuff, really. And trying to work through that. So initial stages of like the sharp stabby pain of like I can't move in any direction or it just hurts far too much.
Yeah.
So the weird thing about that, so nerve pain, like you said about earlier, was that I got to a point where when it kept happening, if I kept getting like a flare up and stuff, the pain was still like 1,000 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
But what I started to find was if I moved and got the muscles active anyway, it started to ease. And that was because it was more that idea of you're fighting against your body trying to compensate. So with disc injuries, my body was trying to not lean my weight a certain way. It was trying to not let muscles work properly. They were supposed to. But as I knew it was that, I was able to basically force myself to get them to go anyway. So even though I had that extreme amount of pain, still getting the muscles feeling active and getting my spine to feel supported again was the most helpful thing for me to actually get it to ease. So there's that kind of weird thing of like knowing the injuries that you kind of have and whether or not you should work through them.
Yes.
So if it was a fresh, like if I fell over and felt a pop and everything, and like, or it was had a bar on my back and I felt a pop, it's a fresh injury. I'm not going to move it. I'm going to let it rest and let it calm down, let the inflammation go. But when it's something I've been forwards and backwards with a bunch of times, then it's like, okay, I need to move. I need to get the muscles feeling on. I need to be like, no, look, body, it's okay. It's okay. So then my brain will actually calm down. Because that's the thing we're fighting against. Yeah. Probably the most is the brain stuff. Of going, no, don't, there's danger. And it's like, no, look, been there for a while. We've adapted to it. We're okay. Totally. You're just having a bit of a drama. And we're going to get through this.
Making a scene.
So it's kind of that using safe movements. So in SMM, we use like the likes of the super regressions and the regressions so that you've got movements that you can normally do, but you make them slightly easier so they're not as intense for you to do. So for me to jump into like doing a bunch of walking lunges or something like that right away, my knee would buckle underneath me, my leg wouldn't work properly and stuff, so I'd be really wobbly and it would just hurt me more. Whereas if I held on to something, moved really slowly and did a few reps first while holding on, got the muscles working a little bit, I'd be then able to step away from what I was holding on to and be able to do a few reps there and start to get the momentum going. And once you can start to get a few muscles working around the general area that's painful, you can generally start to get things to ease. So that's kind of like disc injury wise, back injury wise. If you've got your body's trying to compensate around things, get it moving in safe ways that you know will feel kind of okay. And then, yes, push through a little bit with the pain and you'll actually get it to calm down. If you keep avoiding stuff and let those muscles keep twisting and turning and like your pelvis will start to turn and everything, you'll just end up in a big spiral of even more pain, and then that gets worse. So then the compensations have caused more pain. It's actually been from you avoiding issues as well. So there's that certain thing where it's like you've lost your wiggle room to not move as well, which is kind of important.
And you've talked before as well, when something's ongoing like that, you start to then identify as, well, I should be having pain when I do this thing. So even as things are freeing up and you're getting more control, your brain still goes, oh no, when I do that movement, I am sore. And then your body responds in, it's like it feels stiff, it feels tight. You're like, oh, I knew it. I knew that exercise was bad for me. Those dratted deadlifts. Yeah,
and that the kind of the like those that get worse before it gets better idea there is that sometimes I'll need to do enough to make my muscles feel like they've been used again and actually create like a bit of training soreness. But my body just takes that as more tightness and gives me more pain at the time. So it's almost like your body can get confused and think, oh no, there's more tightness around the muscles. And it's like, no, it's good tightness is what I need. But then like a couple of days after, things will then ease because they'll be like, oh, things are working again. It feels okay. So it takes a wee bit of pushback from your body as well and to kind of work with it a bit to get the muscles active first before the pain will then reduce. Because you need to create a situation that your body actually feels safe again. Because if it feels that like things aren't firing properly, things aren't working properly, it's just more reasons for pain. Whereas if you can get the muscles feeling active and do things that you normally do in the most normal way, start to question if you're moving a certain way and you feel stiffness or restriction, is it actually a hesitation and you're anticipating pain? So you're actually creating the pain because of that anticipation of the pain. So you've got to kind of be like, is this needed or am I actually able to move here and it will ease as I move? So yeah, sometimes you might have to go through a few days of like almost feeling like you're aggravating a little bit more, but it'll start to calm down as you just basically start moving normally, which is a good piece of advice I actually got from I think it was a doctor one time who said like, just move as normally as possible. Don't try and move weird or you'll make yourself feel worse. So, yeah. What about you, JP? Any?
Well, I kind of, I've had a number of injuries, but probably the more recent one is plantar fasciitis, which is a bit like tendonitis type pain, which I would have gotten in my elbows a lot as well. So it's a tricky one because when you warm it up, you can work and it feels fine. And then you're like, oh, that's great. I don't have any issues. And then the next day, it just comes back with a vengeance. So it's trying to find an appropriate level of work that the next day you're not super sore. And then build that up over time. And you're constantly trying to find the limit where if you work too much, it gets sore, not enough, and it doesn't progress the recovery. And
it is one of those weird things, like with plantar fasciitis, that there might be like 50 things that you're actually okay doing that don't actually annoy it that much.
Totally.
But 2 or 3 really send it over the edge.
Yeah.
So if you can find a couple of the things that
Yeah.
you can kind of work with and still progress through it, so
Exactly.
you're not ending up with other problems. Because like if I get something like that and I don't move my hips or train for long enough, my back will then play up as a result of that.
Yeah,
So it's so important to keep
Mm-hmm.
doing what you can do in that kind of
Oh, yeah.
situation. So but if it's your plantar fasciitis, I can always say if it's your first ever time experiencing it, let it rest, let the inflammation go, and hopefully if you do some foot strength and stuff, you might not run into it again. But
Yeah.
you're quite active. You do a lot of stuff barefoot and stuff, like you walk the dogs and everything like that as well.
Oh yeah.
And do a lot of barefoot lifting and stuff. So just any kind of change in your routine could
Yep.
possibly bring that
Definitely.
on.
Yeah, totally. So would I be right? This is a genuine question. That we're kind of looking at 3 types of pain or injuries to recover from. So we're talking about like muscle strain or turning certain muscles turning off and trying to get them to turn back on again. We've got sort of connective tissue, ligaments and tendons, some sort of inflammation there where they're not really doing what they're doing, or like a deep joint pain. You were saying about, you haven't said about it yet, your knee.
Oh.
But there's kind of those 3 different injuries or problems that you can have, and I feel like maybe the recovery path is different for each one.
I'd maybe say that the nerve pain is a 4th.
4th. Oh, there we go.
Because
Yeah.
that is quite separate, because you could have literally nothing wrong with your muscles, but
Crossed wires.
something is just putting pressure on a nerve,
Mhm.
and you feel pain as if there's something wrong with your leg, say, but actually there's nothing wrong with your leg.
Yeah.
It's that nerve. So that's probably a 4th
Mm.
type of pain.
Isn't it wonderful how many things can go wrong with the human body?
All the more impressive then that 90% of the time when everything's running well,
It's fine.
you don't notice
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, you don't care.
I mean,
Take it for granted.
when one thing goes wrong, you're drawn away. You're made
What's the worst
aware
thing in
of
the
it,
world?
Mhm.
and you don't realize that normally it's involved in everything anyway,
Mhm.
and how many other processes are currently just working fine,
Yeah.
no
I know.
issues.
It's incredible what your body's doing
I
at
know,
all
yeah,
times, isn't
totally.
it?
Haven't peed myself today. Great.
No way.
Great day.
Well done,
Yeah.
Tom.
What a
That's really
win.
good.
Don't have a headache.
That's good. I
Yeah.
can breathe through both nostrils.
Both nostrils.
Amazing.
Yeah.
JP almost can.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my knee is actually having a bit of a flare up right now, but it's not an injury. It's an osteochondroma.
What the heck?
And what that means is that it's basically a non-cancerous tumour has grown on my shin bone, and I've got like
I was just
what?
thinking, whenever you type into Google, you're like, I have pain in my knee, and it's like, you have knee cancer.
Yeah.
Jenny
Yeah.
has a
Knee.
tumour in her knee.
Yeah. Well, I had to get it checked with MRIs over the course of like 3 years that it wasn't growing, because it could have been knee cancer. It's not. Well, at least it hasn't grown in the last few years, which is good. So which means it's a non-cancerous tumour, but it is like there's like a ball of bone in my knee, and the ligaments.
Jenny actually has to buy 2 pairs of leggings, different sizes.
No, I don't.
And then she
Just stitch them
stitches them
together.
together with one really big leg.
That's why my legs look so big.
Yeah, she always stands to the left.
Yeah,
if you ever notice in the
uh-huh.
videos.
I don't. That's not true.
Somebody going through our entire
Yeah. The bump on my leg is very obvious when I have it bent at
It's
a certain angle,
It's
and you're looking at it.
Never
But
once seen
no.
it in my entire life.
that's what I mean. If you're kind of like looking at it, and I'm showing you it when it's bent at a certain angle, but otherwise, I didn't know I had a bony growth there. I went to a physio with knee pain that was not going away. And I was trying all the stuff that obviously we do. I was strengthening, stretching, working on loads of different stuff. And my physio was just as confused as I was, because she was like, everything we're doing should be working.
Yeah.
And it's not. And in fact, some things are making it far, far worse. I finally got a MRI and an X-ray. Didn't really show on the MRI, but on the X-ray, it was just like, Jesus Christ, that shouldn't be there. And yeah, and
Put googly eyes on it.
yeah, it's like a 5 centimeter wide base osteochondroma or something.
Feels
It is,
like
hopefully.
It feels
Yeah.
like much bigger than it should.
They're literally just ligaments moving over this bony growth.
They're rubbing on it.
Yeah, they're just so whenever I do too much knee flexion, and especially knee flexion where like this is gonna sound weird, but my foot's not anchored onto anything. So like if I'm doing squats, it's not so bad because my feet are very steady. I don't know why, but as soon as I'm doing like say kicks or hamstring curls and my foot isn't anchored, for some reason that really, really flares it up.
Sure.
And that's what's happened recently. But because it's just like these hamstring ligaments have just been rubbing over this bone, I just have to wait for that to go down and the inflammation to start.
They're just getting so inflamed and swollen, and all the tissue around them then is getting, puffed up with all the kind of bits that your body sends out to heal that part of your body.
What I am doing is focusing on my hip mobility and anything around my knee.
Which is what Tom was saying, of like, by avoiding that one area, you can then create a cascade of issues.
Totally.
But you're not, because you're actually working on it.
Yeah.
If your foot's anchored, you can still kind of work on things a wee bit and get your shoulders jacked.
Exactly, that's what it's all about.
Nice.
Shoulder day every day.
On that sort of movement point of view, sometimes how we're moving kind of created an issue, whether it's an overuse injury or
underdeveloped thing as well.
Yeah. And whenever you go through the process of trying to relearn how to move, your body can kind of go, I don't like that. No. Stop it. So can you talk a little bit about that, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can kind of get injuries that aren't really injuries, and like things just start hurting on people that are maybe not that active or have done a sport specific type thing. So they've just done the same motions again and again and again. They've got six packs on their six packs, they're ripped, they've muscles on their muscles and all of their stuff, but they're still in agonizing pain because they've been doing repetitive joint motions for long periods of time without any other variance. So then the first time you start to build those things up, your body has no tolerance for them. So then you're going to have to go through that stage of like trying to dip the toe in the water to see how much you can tolerate based on the kind of the day after. And it can be this kind of tricky thing because again, until the joint feels supported and safe, pain's not going to go away. But until you build the strength, the pain's not going to go away. So you've got to kind of find that nice middle ground of where you can build things without pissing them off at the same time. So you want to make sure you're picking movements that are easy enough that you can do for loads of reps. So that's the tricky thing with some people that are already strong. They can do some quite advanced, even though they're corrective exercises, they're still quite advanced. So then they'll be like, I can get this moving a wee bit. And then the next day they're like, I'm in agony. And it's because it was too much too soon. So you need to kind of find the easier things that you can do tons of reps with. So yeah, it can absolutely feel worse before it gets better because like, remember the first time you ever did a certain, like the first time you ever anyone, like if you've ever done the bicep 21s, which is like, a weird thing of doing, you do half reps of bicep curls one way, half reps the top way, and then you do full reps. So you do 7, 7, 7 of each. So it's quite a unique type of way of hitting the muscle, essentially. The first couple of times you ever try that, you're like, the next day, like my arm is so sore to bend, and it's like, it's just because you're not used to it. But if you put that in your training regularly, you almost become, not dead inside, but you become numb to it. You're just used to it. So
your body gets used to it.
Yeah, so that's kind of what you're looking for. If you haven't moved a joint or your spine or something in certain ways for a long time, it's going to take a little bit of adaptation. And if you're currently feeling sore already, your body's just going to give you more pain temporarily for a while until it gets used to that kind of motion and you get that bit of strength there. But the great thing is there that when you go through that a couple of times, I find you then get to know your body better. So if you do pick up even somewhere else hurts, you're kind of like, I know how much I need to move this before it will start to feel okay again. And that's kind of a great thing about does pain get worse before it gets better. The more times you go through that, the quicker you get at it.
Yeah. It's one of the difficult things if someone's new to this whole, well, okay, I need to do something rather than nothing. I can't just sit and get weaker or whatever. Is, what's a good type of pain and what's a bad type of pain? And that you can't recognize that the first time you try it.
Oh, pain's bad pain.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just pain, and then it's like learning.
Natural reaction. Run away from it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you'll never be fine again. Ever.
No, that's another thing that we do think like this is forever. And if we let it be, it could be. But it's almost like learning a language, and we do have a section in the SMME book about the pain scale and the language of pain. Because the more like, when you first start hearing a foreign language, it's just like this. It's one long jumble. And that's what pain is. You have no idea what it's saying. You just know it's foreign. That's French. And
no speak French.
And then as you listen to it more and more, you start discerning
oranges.
you
Bathroom.
start discerning sentences, and there's a structure to it and a flow to it, and then you're like, okay, well now I'm starting to hear words, and then I'm starting to ascribe meaning to the words, and all the stuff that when you're learning a human language, the same thing you can do with pain. So that first time you experience that pushback of, was that good? Was that bad? I have no idea. It's so foreign to me right now. And you need to learn, and the only way you can learn is by trying stuff.
Totally.
And it can be difficult.
Yeah. And similarly, for new people going through that struggle, I think there's a second group who are actually quite experienced and have been doing movements for a long time, and they're like, cool, I can do all these things, and then you do make a change and their brain just goes, no, but I can do it this other way. This way is so much harder and more difficult. And I kind of think of it like, if you've learned to use Microsoft Excel and you're really competent at it, you're like, sweet, I know how all the formulas work, and then for some reason you need to use, I don't know, like Google Sheets. And there's just that frustration of like, I know how to do this in the other software, I just can't do it in this one. But if you stick with it, all the skills will transfer over. But you just need to go through that initial pain point of, no, I've done this before, I can do it again. Just like give it time, breathe, and work your way through.
Yeah, so do you mean that sort of like relearning how to move type stuff?
Yeah, so say for example you were squatting and you always hurt your lower back, and then you relearned how to squat. Initially you're like, oh, but
I could lift more when I did it the other way. Yeah.
And so you just have to take the foot off the gas a little bit and just go through that process.
Just fix that wee bit of foundation again.
Yeah.
Let it breathe.
Because most of us have learnt health, fitness, any sport.
Wrong.
Just as we go.
Yeah.
Build the plane as we fly kind of attitude. There's so many steps that we skipped. Yeah. And I think that like it's natural and normal. We're not going to change that because, especially as adults, we want to see progress to stick with anything. It's very hard. You know, you're busy, you're trying so hard in all these other areas. Fitness and health should be fun. And if you're like, well, okay, first of all, I'll spend the first year working on this, and then the second year, you don't want to do that. No. You want to just get stuck in.
And even if you did, you'd still hit
like learn problems.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. So yeah, taking that time to go back and review your foundational movements is really important. And that's why SMM is for everybody. Because
at every level,
because it is the foundational movements of like, oh yeah, my hip is meant to be able to move both ways.
And that's just over the years, anytime I meet people that are having a ton of problems, and you look at how they are able to do the SMM movements, it's like, I can see why you have all them problems. And if I meet those people that are just so unfair that never get hurt or injured and they just seem to glide through life with no problems whatsoever, they never struggle with any of those movements and stuff. So there is a big thing to think about making sure your bits and bobs move properly before you jump into anything.
But then during that retraining process, that's when we can see that it gets worse before it gets better kick in. Because as JP was saying, you're like relearning something that your body's been like, this is fine. We've been able to get the work done. But of course it's led to injury and whatnots, and you have to take like 3 steps back in order to take hopefully 5 steps forwards.
And as you're taking those 5 forward, you often get 2 forward and then another 3 back. And you kind of have this like downward progression for a while, which can be super demoralizing, but it's trying to keep that long-term big picture front and center.
Well, especially if you're injured and being held back, like you don't tend to worry about this stuff unless something has happened to pull you back, hold you back. And you can either decide, well, you know what, I've had enough, I'm just going to move on to something different or nothing at all. Or you can be like, right, let's take these steps back and see what I missed and where I went wrong.
Is there a way, if you're a new person or just starting for the first time, of doing it right the first time?
Nope. The best thing you can do is get in-person guidance with a physio and stuff, and kind of be like, what exercises should I be doing? Big thing is, if you're going to go and see anybody in person, make sure you're getting given stuff to do at home, so you're able to have stuff to work on at home. So don't go and expect them to fix you. So just like You Can Fix You, this is the You Can Fix You podcast, you need to make sure you're getting stuff that you can work on at home safely. So having in-person guidance, asking someone, what do I need to do here that I can work on safely, is so super important. and then start to, after a little while, you start to trust your own gut. It's like, yeah, when I move this, it starts to feel a bit better. Feels a bit tender the next day, but still movable. If I move it again, it still feels okay. Whereas if you do something, wake up the next day going, sharp stabby pain again. Okay, I need to rest this for longer. And hopefully, like with your osteochondroma thing, the more times that you kind of run into that and have to rest, that the period you have to rest will hopefully start getting slightly less because your body gets used to going like, hey, okay, rather than hey, okay. So, hopefully the more it'll happen, your body get used to calm itself down as well. So, yeah.
So if you've got someone who has pain right now, and I know you had this experience very recently, Tom, someone who's experiencing pain and is like, what should I do? But then what we would advise them to do, they're like, no, but that hurts. I can't do that. How, in an ideal world, what can they do to overcome that fear? Because it's a real fear. You tell them to do something and you're like, well, no, that's actually hurt me more. At what point do you say, okay, so you know what, go to a doctor? Or at what point is it like, I know it hurts, it's going to hurt, we're making big changes and we have to get through this? How would you deal with that person?
The really sharp stabby pain that we keep coming back to is if that keeps happening no matter what you do, that's doctor job. You go and get it scanned, like especially if this is going on for months. You've got to get it seen to, like it's your body, don't leave it. But if you are, again, always be trying to think, what do you not know? So if you're trying an exercise that, this was my interpretation of what stretching was back in the day. Oh, yoga then. Okay, so chaturanga, do a downward dog, flick the leg up in the air, step through, deep lunge. Hey, let's go. Sometimes you might need to start by actually lifting your own leg up on something and then going and just standing there like that for a couple of minutes. And then bending your knee a bit and going. That might be where you actually need to start rather than, even jumping up and going right into a wiggle. So sometimes the pushback that you're getting from your body, it's almost immediate. If things start to tense up right away and it's really, really sore, it's like you need to take a couple of minutes here and just be in that position in a tolerable way and try and see, does your body start to go, all right, okay then, and then add something else to that. So it's just about knowing that it will be okay. And worst case scenario, if it's not okay, then you go to the doctor and you get it fixed there, So it's knowing that if I take a second here and it relaxes, giving yourself that little confidence boost then if you do get to that stage of going, all right, okay, this feels slightly better. All right, let's try and move it a little bit further then. Oh, feels slightly better. Let's try and move it a little bit further. And try and find that point where you're like, you bend a little bit more, you move something a little bit more, and you're like, that hurts again. There's the bite point. Then you step back a wee bit. Let's keep moving around here and track that over a few days and see, does that range of motion improve or does that thing you're trying to do, anything that hurts you, turn it into a test. It's like, right, I want to be able to do that. I used to be able to do that, or other people can do that. Why can't I? I want to know right now why I can't do that. How can I get there? And that's what you're always keeping in your head, like for that motivation thing. Because when you're sore, you kind of you don't want to do anything. You want to eat crisps. Well, I do anyway. In fact, I'm quite hungry now. I really want some crisps. But you got to be like, right, how can I get to where I want to be? So you're not just sitting and wallowing. And I'm all for moaning. Moan as much as you want, as long as you're working on it.
Do something about it, yeah. The nice thing about a test as well is because your target is constantly moving, by having a test, you can figure out, well, how is it moving? So because it's a biological process, it's not just like, we've talked about this before, you can't just swap out a part. It's not like a machine where it's, okay, this is worn down, let's just replace that, put a new one in, done. It has to regrow, it has to, and to make it get stronger and get better, you have to overstimulate it, give it time to recover, but you're trying to hit a moving target there, because what is too much and what is not enough. And my rowing coach used to describe rowing as you're trying to post a letter in a letterbox, piece of cake, trying to get the blade to go into the water. Trouble is, you're moving at 12 miles an hour. So you're trying to get this letter into a letterbox, which is a really difficult thing to do at speed. And I feel like that's what recovery is like sometimes, where your target is moving at 12 miles an hour and you're trying to get that letter, which is how much training you do to go into your recovery slot. It just doesn't quite, it's not an easy thing to do.
No, but you can only get better at it with practice.
Exactly, yeah.
And one thing that I was thinking when you were describing that the starting point is very often so much further back than people imagine. Loads further, yeah. Like especially if you don't have experience in this like industry or this world, and you just want to get out of pain to play with your kids or whatever. To say stretching, yeah, that could have wild connotations of doing the splits and back bends. But so similarly, once you recognize that starting point is, okay, yeah, let's just lift my knee up onto my bed and lean forwards a little. Or, yeah, like cross my arms in front of me and stretch to the side very slightly. Those are normal, natural movements. So it's also that reassurance of, I'm not doing anything so dangerous right now that I could even hurt myself doing it. Even if you just put your foot on like your bottom step, you do that every day to get up and down stairs. So you can start with a movement that you know, I'm safe here. Mm-hmm. If I start to lean or breathe or wiggle, that's not like there's no way I could hurt myself in this position. Yeah. So you can start off like that. That is what we mean by stretching sometimes. It's not like it doesn't count because it's just not intense enough. Like that is what you might need.
I think mentally for me, one of the most helpful things was realizing I'm just hypersensitive right now, and that's okay. And knowing that things, yes, will be more uncomfortable and hurt slightly more, but knowing that will change. And it's just like, so anytime I do get a back flare up, it's like, oh, I'm hypersensitive right now. I've still got the exact same level of pain that I had, but saying that to myself is like, oh, that's all that is then. And almost like I was talking about this, like belittling your pain. It's like, it's just, busy silly boy, what are you doing? Yeah. It's that, it helps calm you mentally a bit. It's like, I'm hypersensitive right now, not forever, just right now. And just being able to, like you said, do the thing that's safe.
Well, I think women have that every month, really. You have to remind yourself, you know what, you're just being very sensitive right now. Actually, life is okay. Your partner is fine.
It's not going to be like this forever.
Yeah, exactly. So,
are they though? Is your partner fine?
Actually, on reflection.
And on the next podcast, we'll be discussing relationships and.
But like that awareness of what your state is right now is very useful in injury recovery as well as life.
Oh yeah. Oh, self-awareness is going to come up big time in the next episode. Self-sabotage. Self-awareness is the worst.
Yeah.
Well, also, I find fitness has rarely let me down. It already has taught you all the life lessons you ever need to learn. It's just figuring out what they are. What you were saying there is understanding your state. When somebody messages you, understand what state you're in. Because you'll read that message in whatever state you're in. If you're angry, why are they angry at me? No, you're angry. You just interpret it as that.
Totally. So it's the same as your body, I guess. It's like...
Yeah, why are you angry at me? Because you ran 6 marathons in a month. Well...
And?
I wanted crisps.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully that is some kind of actionable stuff. Pain, yes, will get worse before it gets better. But as you build your strength up, your foundation up, your body will feel more supported. And you take away the reasons for pain.
Well, if you want to build that foundation that we've discussed, you can get the Simplistic Mobility Method from our website, tommorrison.uk.
What was that, sorry?
tommorrison.uk.
Nice. What was the program?
Simplistic Mobility Method. Good. And yes, as mentioned, it has not only regressions, which are easier versions, but also super regressions, which are even easier versions. So no matter where you're at, you
the
can
exact stuff that I used to
principles.
Use when I had a really bad nerve pain. So that's the exact movements I used.
We actually, minor tangent before we finish, there was someone who posted in the group this morning saying how they used to think if they didn't complete the full SMM as prescribed, in CrossFit type of terminology, full variations with full reps, it was what did she say? It was like it had to be perfect for it to count, basically. Yeah. And since then, she's had 2 knee replacements and a shoulder surgery, recovering from rotator cuff tear. Just a couple of just tweaks. And she's realised the power of regressing and taking it easier and slower and doing fewer reps but spending more time. And it's like, that's amazing. Yeah, regression's not a bad thing. There's no rush to get to the end.
Yeah. What is it you need today?
Yeah.
Do that. Don't do the thing you want to be able to do, because you'll never be able to do the thing you want to be able to do.
No, because the goalposts are always moving.
Yep, you always move the goalposts.
But anyway, SMM, tommorrison.uk.
And if you're currently in a flare-up, Tom, what's the blog?
If you go to our blog, tommorrison.uk/blog, type in flare-up, into search thing or just lower back pain.
You can search the blogs.
You can search the blogs,
Search the
yeah.
blog.
Or search hypermobility. Yeah, there's tons of stuff. Go check out the blog. The blog's amazing. And then the programs.
Yeah.
Sweet.